Hi, this is Robert from Columbia, South Carolina, and you're listening to The Candid Frame.
There comes a time for many photographers when they think about earning money from using a camera. Some want to make it their full-time profession, while others want to earn enough to pay for their expensive hobby. But the challenge can be trying to figure out what kind of photographer you want to be. When Diana Lundin ended her career as a professional writer and editor, that's the very question she asked herself. She explored the usual avenues, including headshots and children's portraiture. However, it was pets that became her forte, and upon which she has built a successful business. However, it didn't start as easily as you might think.
In 2007, I got hired to do, a woman had gotten collars and leashes for dogs, and she says, "Can you shoot this for me?" And I go, "Yes, I can do that." You know what? No, I really couldn't. I mean, I didn't know how to work with the animals. It just seemed like it would be easy. It was like saying, okay, I don't even remember. Maybe I blotted out. It turned out okay, but it was flop sweat the entire time.
Not only has Diana enjoyed great success in her business, she will soon be releasing her first book, Dogs vs. Ice Cream. It consists of fun and beautiful portraits of dogs eating doggy ice cream. As simple as the concept sounds, the images are just amazing. We'll talk to Diana about how she transitioned from one career to another and how she came to publish her first book that was inspired by a YouTube video of two dogs visiting McDonald's. This is Ibarionex, and welcome back to The Candid Frame. Well, thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed talking with you a couple of weeks back, so I'm glad we finally be able to sit down. Because I love the work that you showed me at the event, and I got a soft spot for dogs anyway.
Well, who doesn't? You have a dog, right?
Oh, yeah. I've had several dogs.
Tell me a little about
Zoe.
Zoe?
She's the latest mistress of the house.
Mm-hmm. And they are.
Yeah, and she's a 4-year-old pit. Mm-hmm. We actually had two dogs before. It was Spencer, who was the first dog I ever had as an adult. Mm-hmm. And he was a black shepherd. Yeah. And then we got Tracy. So it was Spencer and Tracy. Mm-hmm. And Tracy was a Shar-Pei mix. Oh. And so we got Tracy to keep Spencer occupied because he was a much older dog. And we were thinking that Tracy would probably outlive Spencer because there was such a difference in age. And Tracy got cancer.
Oh, no.
She had cancer in the back of her tongue. We just saw this growth on the back of her tongue.
No.
And we had to put her down, which was sad. And then he kind of took a downturn after that. And it was the saddest thing. People say that dogs don't mourn. They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I agree. He
stopped eating. He would come into the house from the back door, and he would look at the back door, waiting for him to come in. And, he just started to, progress. He lasted for a while, but then we got Zoe. And it was nice to have another dog, but I think he was already probably around 12, something like that when we got, and then he passed away about a year and a half ago. He had 15. And so right now we just have Zoe, and she is sort of a brindle coat. Mm-hmm. And she thinks she's a lap dog.
It's surprising how many pit bulls do. Little pitties think that they are lap dogs, and they're...
Yeah, and we didn't intend to get a pit bull when we went down to the Pasadena Humane Society to pick one up. And I'd looked at a couple of other dogs, but when I brought them to Spencer, they didn't seem to be agreeable to each other. And we had passed Zoe, and she was a cute dog, but it didn't resonate with me. But then my wife sort of said, "Why don't you bring that dog over?" And Spencer walked up to her, sniffed her, and walked away. And I said, "That's a good sign," right? Because he was completely indifferent to her. And so we got her. She had actually been the pet of a homeless girl that was in a park that's not too far from there. This was actually the second time she had returned it to the Humane Society. She'd had it. She gave it to the Humane Society, then wanted her back, but then finally just said, "I can't keep the dog." So that's how we got her. And because she was a pit bull, we felt responsible to get her properly trained. So we paid for a trainer out in the San Fernando Valley. And, within 2 or 3 weeks, he had her down. The rest of the time was training us, breaking us of all our bad habits with respect to dogs and learning how to be consistent and be disciplined and not, you can't be intermittent in terms of, what you expect from a dog. And it was really good. So she's really good. I think the only issue I have with her is when we're walking her and other dogs start barking, she gets really excited. So right now I'm trying to sort of break her of that. But otherwise, if I tell her to sit down and do all those things, she'll stay there. She won't eat until I tell her to. So sometimes I've forgotten to tell her, and then I'll walk away, and like 45 minutes later, I hear this whimpering, and I go. But I'm glad that she's disciplined to that degree. But it's like that initial excitement when someone new or a new dog is around. It's kind of hard to sort of like get it because she gets so excited, and she's like 56 pounds of muscle. So
my neighbor has 2 pits. The boy is he's the older one. He's been around a little bit longer, and he's very friendly, very sweet, very, he loves his Aunt Nabisco because I'm always giving him a treat. But the other one just has no controls. She's just like full on you, and she's knocked us down. I mean, I'm hard to knock down, but she's knocked me down. She's friendly.
Yeah.
But and she's been to training multiple times.
Yeah, when I take her to the vet or I take her to the location where we bathe her, she's wonderful. I mean, they all love her. She'll go up to talk they'll talk to her and they can pet her, and she's perfectly fine. She doesn't act up. She maintains my commands, but when she's in the house, and some stranger comes in, it's like, okay, that doesn't work. Just because I guess it's just very territorial at that point. Mm-hmm. But anywhere else, she's sort of the sweetest dog. So I just have to, be careful with her because I know how people are about dogs, periods, but pits in particular. Yeah. So I just maintain as much responsibility and control over her as I can. People go, "Oh, can I touch her?" I go, "No." And you shouldn't do that with any dog. I don't care how cute, how nice they are. You don't stick your hand into their face. It's inviting trouble.
Kind of let them get to know you a little bit.
Yeah. And you have a lot of experience with that.
I do.
As a photographer. But before we get talking into the pet photography, I want to learn a little more about you before you started doing all that. You were a journalist, a producer. You were doing a lot of stuff, primarily around writing.
Yes.
Is that something you sort of aspired to do from very young?
From when I was young, yeah. I decided to go to major in journalism. I was on the yearbook staff and then newspaper staff when I was in high school. I also took several photography classes in high school, the dark room and all that stuff. And when I went to college, I majored in journalism, and my emphasis was photojournalism. I had a mix of the writing. And then all my beginning jobs, I went the slow community newspaper route on my trajectory up, if you can call it that. My first job was at the Grand Canyon News, and I did the writing. I was the only person up there, so I did the writing of the sports and of the news and, the rescues and what have you, and all the photography. And then once a week I would go down and do the production over in Williams, which was where the Williams News put out the Grand Canyon News. So I would go down there, do all the darkroom work. They would do hot type at that time. They were still doing hot type.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I was making halftones out of the prints,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And after that, I would deliver them once a week. I mean, it was like that much of an upstart. Some of them would get them in the, most of the subscribers would get them in the mail, but I would go around to the newspaper stands with my Volkswagen Bug and, put them over at the grocery store. Yeah. I'd even pick up at the ads from the grocery store. The Grand Canyon had one grocery store. I'd go over there and they would make the weekly specials and, I would pick them up. I mean, I did everything over there. And it was really fun. But then as you go up the chain in the newspaper, you got to pick one or the other. And I didn't know how to do flash. I was so afraid of flash photography that I said, well, I'm going to be a writer. And that was
Really? That's what sort of dissuaded you from continuing in photography?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. And then when I learned it, I just go, this is so easy. I have had this paper tiger chasing me this whole time, and it was so easy. It's just basically a little formula. Learn the formula, get creative with it if you want to, but the basic thing is flash is easy.
Considering everything that you were already doing to put out that paper and all the things that you had to learn in order to make that happen, it's amazing that it was just the flash. It was the thing that was like the brick wall.
It was my, Armageddon. I couldn't get beyond it. I could put a flash on my camera. Later on, when I was a reporter and I was still doing a little bit of photography, I could, bounce it off the ceiling with just an attached flash on the camera. But off-camera flash was just like, oh my God, I don't have no idea. And then I finally took some classes from Julia Dean. I've taken a couple classes from her, which we met at the Los Angeles Center of Photography, which Julia Dean runs. Yeah. But before it was the Julia Dean workshops, and I took some classes from her, and I just wanted to hit my head. I go, this is so easy. This is so easy. Subject to distance,
So you were working at a website for about 10 or 11 years?
Yeah, for 11 years I worked at. It was called Home Store, I think, when I first started it, but they ran Realtor.com. And then it basically became Move.com, and they still ran Realtor.com. I think it's still that way now. I'm not 100%. It could be just Realtor. But yeah, I was a website editor there. Survived so many layoffs, I can't even tell you. But finally, I hit my last layoff round, and I was happy because I always said, well, they're going to have to kind of make me walk the plank. They're paying me very well. And I had accumulated all this photography equipment. And in the last year that I was there, I kind of was seeing the writing on the wall. So I started accumulating video equipment because I didn't want to do weddings and I needed something higher priced, when I was out on my own. So I go, well, I'll do video, not weddings, but I'll do video. And then I started looking around actually at different genres for photography.
That transition of being laid off, I think, is sort of a catalyst for a lot of photographers that I've had the chance to interview. They get laid off, and it's sort of a critical moment. You can either panic and bury the head in the sand, or try to sort of stay within the same business or career, or make a market leap into something else.
Well, it was the first and third.
First and third.
Yeah, panic. And then make something new out of it.
So you get laid off, and starting a business is not an easy thing. I mean, you may have the equipment to take the photographs, but there's so much to learn. Like the flash sort of kept you from doing it, but all the stuff that you had to learn in terms of a business, was it necessity that allowed you to get past whatever insecurity or doubt or fear to learn that stuff in order to make it happen?
Well, I'm one of the ones who make all the mistakes along the way to learn. So I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And then finally I'm like, oh, okay, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do to get there. And first of all, I had done a lot of headshots. And I had done a lot of headshots for a lot of years while I was on weekends when I was working. And I was doing headshots even where I was working. So I figured I'm going to go into headshots and maybe some portraits. I didn't want to do children. I didn't really want to do families, but I figured, well, I can do these things. And I was hooked up pretty good for a while. And then I just said, I have to find something that calls to me. And I tried infant photography because there was a whole bunch of tutorials online about, infant photography. And I tried it, and I did it with 5 babies, and 100% of them pooed, peed, or did something. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't think this is for me. I'm kind of queasy that way. So then I tried food photography, and it was so exacting. And I go, you know what? Maybe that isn't for me. But I had always loved animals, always. And in 2007, I got hired to do, a woman had gotten collars and leashes for dogs. And she says, can you shoot this for me? And I go, yes, I can do that. And you know what? No, I really couldn't. I mean, I didn't know how to work with the animals. It just seemed like it would be easy. It was like saying, okay, I don't even remember. Maybe I blotted out. It turned out okay, but it was flop sweat the entire time. And so I didn't do it for a long time. Then I watched a video on Creative Live. I use a lot of Creative Live classes. And I watched this one photographer do pet photography, and she was really awful at it. She was just, I'm like I couldn't learn from her. And then they did this tryout with Arica Dorff, who was in Henderson, Nevada at that time. And I go, I can do that. And then she had a full-blown 2-day course on Creative Live, and I watched her, and I was mesmerized. And I go, I can do that. And so I started borrowing my neighbor animals, and, hey, can I shoot your dog? And so I started doing a lot of that, and just, didn't charge anybody. I was just trying to learn it. And after a while, I kind of got good at it. So,
but when you say you saw her doing it and you said, I can do that, what were you seeing her do that you felt like, yeah, I can make this happen?
Well, I saw the tricks that she uses, and the tricks were easy. But I can't do what Arica does. She's really gifted. But she did a certain noise sound that she created out of her mouth, and it was like the dogs just paid attention to that. And then she was talking about some other tricks and noises and things like that you can use. And that's what I didn't see it in the first photographer because the dogs weren't looking at her. But I did see it in Arica. And so what I use now is I have 3 of them. I have 3 necklaces. They're actually hunting call necklaces. And I have hunting calls attached to them. And I have doves, I have hogs, I have, distressed predator animal. I have a whole bunch of different sounds. Dogs don't pay attention to sound for very long. If they don't get a payoff after about 3 little sounds, then they stop looking. There's no interest. There's no payoff for them. So that's why I have a necklace, because I can change the sounds. And then, if you just do a knock behind the door, or if I'm sitting on an apple box, just do a knock there. They'll pay attention to that. Squeaky toy. I sometimes don't even bring the toy. I just bring the squeaker. I bought a bag of squeakers, so I just... And, if you're working with a client, they're like, deek, 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 deek. They just, can't stop squeaking. Yeah. And for me, it's like, if you can't get them in 2 times, then throw out the noise and get another one because they're not responding to it. So it's basically, with animals, with dogs, it's noise. And if noise is 80% of it, and if they don't respond to noise, then you might take out the treats. Yeah. But I don't start out with treats. I like to let them know what as they say in Survivor, here's what you're playing for. I will occasionally give them a treat, but mostly the treats I give are after the session.
So what kind of research did you go look into in terms of the market to have an understanding of who else was out there, how much they were charging, how they procured clients?
Oh, I did a lot of that. I still do it. I try. I'm always surprised how many pet photographers there are in Los Angeles. There are a lot, and there are so many that I know quite a few. Some of them I'm friends with, but some of them are real competitors. And so I'm always looking at, the information that I can get from various, I don't always tell my methods, but I'm always trying to find out who's out there, what they're doing, how I fit into that. And then sometimes I have to just let go of that, because sometimes it's just depressing to see all of that. It's just noise. It just fills up your mind with doubt. So I just kind of do my thing. I get called a lot because I'm on the first page of Google.
Yeah, I was noticing how when I just did that, it's like you come up.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been up to first place, but it fluctuates, and as long as I stay on the first page, I'm pretty happy with that. And then I feel like when they get to that first page and they're looking, I think my work speaks for itself. I think if you look in comparison to other people, some people do a different style, and that's fine if they want that style. I don't have any qualms at all about stylistic choices. Mine I do in studio style. I say studio style because I bring a studio to their home. I don't have a studio, so I just do it in their home and set it up. I do outdoors. I do off-camera flash. I do all kinds of things. So, so if they look at my stuff, I feel confident if they can see the look they want, they'll find it on my page. Mm-hmm. And if they want something different, they'll find somebody else. And I'm perfectly okay with that. We all do our thing a little bit differently. So
Yeah. You talked about earlier about having an understanding that this is something that you could do, that you could take pictures of pets in a variety of different ways, and you were confident that you could produce a good product. But in terms of sort of business and marketing, is trying to figure out like your niche, especially in a field that's sort of a luxury item.
it is a luxury item.
So in terms of trying to figure out where you fit along those lines, not just in terms of the kinds of pictures that you can take, but the kind of service you want to provide.
I do want to provide a boutique service. What I want owners really to have is something grand of their pet, a nice wall portrait or a book of albums so that they always remember what their animal looked like in a really good time of their life. I mean, that's really what I want. I get a lot of calls, end-of-life calls, and those are very sad to me. But in terms of, I do a boutique sort of service. It's not high volume. Like the ice cream socials are high volume, but that's a little different for me. But I do a very custom type of work, and that's what I'm hoping for people to see a product that really honors their pets. I have really great vendors that I use to produce my products. I'm very proud of them. When people see them, they can see the difference. I feel like they can see the difference. There's some really beautiful... in fact, I was just at the Animal Image Makers Conference in Minneapolis, and I've used the vendor before, and I like his work. And, they had a little, exhibition hall where they had the vendors. And I'd used this company before, and I like them. I hadn't used them for a while, but I liked some of the things that they did. And this guy he was the owner of the company. He had a print style that I'd never seen before. I've seen the metallics, I've seen metallic paper, not just metal prints, but gloss. I've seen the luster, all the different finishes, but he had one that is originally done on gloss, and then he sprays it 10 times with a matte finish. And the depth that it brought out was astonishing. And I think I want to switch all of my prints into this because it's extraordinary. Yeah. And he doesn't even have it on the price sheet yet. He says, hey, call me up or just tag me to say that you want what you saw in Minneapolis. So that's what I'm going to do. I think that's my new method of getting beautiful prints. It's just extraordinary. When
people decide to launch a career in photography, be it as a portrait photographer or headshot photographer or whatever genre they're interested in, what I normally see is that people research what other people are doing, and they'll both emulate their style and their pricing model, and then they'll go out there. And what I want to ask you is, because you just described an understanding of what you provide that's sort of very clear, it's very distinct. You know exactly what you're bringing to the table to offer to your client. Did that develop from the inception of this idea, or was, like you mentioned before, it was a result of a variety of different mistakes that you made that allowed you to come to the point that you're at now?
Well, that's interesting. From the beginning of the pet photography, I've done IPS, in-person sales. Even though I go to the client's home, I do in-person sales to show them a slideshow of their images and all of the products that I sell so that they have a chance to put their fingers on it. They get a chance to emotionally be exposed to the images of their pet. And I've done that from the beginning. Now, the mistakes that I made when I was doing family photography, I put the images on an online gallery. I'm like, no one buys anything. Nobody buys 4x6s, 5x7s. That's what they buy because they don't know any better. They don't have anybody guiding them through the process. And in headshot photography, nobody's looking for me to supply the 8x10s. They're looking for the digital images. So that's a different business model. So and that one is going to kind of stay where it is. But for me, the in-person sales is really a way to fulfill the client's needs once they see the images that they like, to put them on the wall to see how they would look. I have a program where I can take the images that they select and then I can build a wall gallery of the art, so that with their actual living room, so they can totally see the sizes that will work on there. And we can adjust the sizes if they're, too big, too small. We can adjust the sizes in that program. So they have a really good idea of exactly how that will look on their wall. And I think that's a real benefit when you can actually visualize from there. Like I say, I'm not the most expensive photographer. I'm not the cheapest photographer, but I just feel like, I do provide as much extra service as I can. I see the client at least 3 times during. We do the shoot, I do the presentation of their images, and then I hand deliver everything to their homes. So, and I always feel like we get along pretty well by that time, by the 3rd time. Like, I have great clients.
Well, let's talk about your relationships with the people, with the clients, because as much as your images are about pets, they're not the ones that hire you.
I know, they don't buy. Well, no, that's the good thing is because if it's, a lot of times people don't want to be in the session, they don't want to be photographed, so it's just they're animals, and it makes it so much easier that, I know I'm sounding conspiratorial, but it makes it so much easier that it's their dog that they're choosing, because they're not worried about like makeup or does the dog look fat, or they're not worried about any of those things. If the dog has a little boo-boo, they know I can take that out in Photoshop, or I tell them I can take it out in Photoshop. So it's like my clients, like I would say their pets are their children. Even if they have real children, those children are usually out of the house, and so it's the pet who is, they're empty nesters if they're older, and then this is the first child if they're a couple, is their dog. So they have a different relationship with their dog than a family pet. Like, families never hire me, never, because all the money goes into the children, and I totally understand that. So it's easy in a sense because you can hardly do wrong by giving them some good images of their dogs. You sometimes see the dog in a new way that they haven't seen, or you see the dog exactly as they are, which they love just as much. So it's really great. The clients I have, they're just like, this is a great experience for them. It's actually a great experience to have a pet photographer photographing your dog for 90 minutes or 2 hours or something. They really enjoy it. Yeah,
when Tracy, she was passing away, the day before I was going to take her into the vet, we booked a photographer friend of mine to do a beach shoot with me, my wife, Spencer, and Tracy. And I knew that I wanted us in the photographs,
right? Because
we had all been on this journey together. And I looked at I looked at those photographs not so much as a documentation of my pets. It was like this was a big part of our lives for a long time, and I wanted to memorialize it in that way. So I didn't see the pet photography as just, say, a portrait. I got plenty of pictures of sort of my dogs and the one cat that we've owned. When your clients come to you, how many do you think are looking at it in that way, that it's a reflection of their lives and not just necessarily a nice portrait of their pet?
That's a good question. You can take selfies with your pet, but it's really hard to get a good image, a good professional portrait of your dog with a camera. And so a lot of times people hire me just so I can memorialize their relationship. And it's not always at the end of life. I get a lot of them that say, I just really want to get a picture with my dog. I have one of those tomorrow. I have one of those shoots tomorrow. It's like, the dog is 9, the dog is fine, and she just wants a picture with her dog, to memorialize their relationship, yeah.
Many of you have downloaded the Candid Frame app, which I promote every week on the show. It's been an important resource for us, as some podcast aggregators, including Apple Podcast, doesn't provide complete access to all 467 episodes. So for those of you who want to go all the way back to those early episodes, the app is the easiest and most convenient way to do it. It's something that was only made possible by your contributions. Your help not only provided us the means to have it designed, but also to make it available for free to everyone. One of the things that the app allows me to do is provide content outside of the weekly podcast. So recently, I uploaded an excerpt from my book, Making Photographs, Developing a Personal Visual Workflow. So if you have the app, you can download a PDF of an excerpt to your tablet or phone. You'll find it listed among the most recent episodes on the app. I hope you enjoy it. This and so many other things have been made possible through your support. And if you haven't already, please take the time today to become a Patreon supporter. By contributing $5 or more a month, you are helping us to improve the show in any number of ways. So go to patreon.com/The Candid Frame and become a Patreon supporter today. Thanks. When people reach out to you because they want to hire you, I imagine that you have a sort of certain advantage, because if they're coming to you already, they've already determined that it's something that they want to do, right? But that doesn't guarantee the sale for you.
No.
So what happens in the interaction that helps to sort of convert that into an actual sale? Because it's not like cold calling where you have to convince someone to meet with you and all that. They're already coming to you because they have a need and they're thinking that you may fill it, but you're still, even before you start making the pictures as a saleswoman, you have to sort of figure out, okay, how can I convince them to go with me rather than one of my competitors?
Well, that is a good question. I think where they don't go with me is if they're very price sensitive. I have my prices, my session fee listed on my website. I actually have 2 places where you can see my entire price list on the website, and then I want to bring that up as early of the conversation as possible because I don't want there to be surprises. But it's usually the price sensitive who don't want to go all the way. And, you know, I'm sure you've experienced this a lot of times, but we've done a disservice. Photography has a bit of a problem right now. One of the things we've done is a disservice to our clients that we aren't full service and that we provide a CD of, I don't know, good images, crap images. We provide this CD, and then people are trained then to expect a CD at low prices. And a lot of that stems from this could be a weekend job for people. So they don't, oh, good, I can buy a lens after they've, done 100 of these or 10 of these, CD kind of situations. And I don't do the CD. You can't even get a CD from me. I'll provide digital images because, in some ways but my digital image, people get a digital image with every print they buy, so they always get something to share. I don't charge them extra for that. And I do sell digital images, but I'm very cognizant that it's one of the most expensive things that they could purchase because they have unlimited use of those images as far as buying quantities of them, and they can bypass me entirely on, selling prints and that kind of thing. So it's really what I offer, price sensitivities that will make me not get the clients. Or, some people don't have any price sensitivity at all.
Is part of your success in being able to convert them in educating them?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's part of it. Telling them, I give a lot of service to my clients, and I have a fairly fast turnaround time, too. I edit all the images, not before I show it to them, but I always show them a couple images fully edited so that they know what they're getting if I do the slideshow without that. But educating them, I belong to so many Facebook groups that talk about how they don't sell digital images or CDs of them, or they don't. And one of my very favorite responses was somebody who said, well, the person objected and said, well, my last photographer gave me all the CDs on an image. And her response was, oh, I'm so sorry they didn't provide you with good service and, that they made you do that all on your own. So. And
then a couple of years from now, you're looking for a computer with a CD player.
Exactly. I don't have one. I mean, I have a CD on the side. Mm-hmm. I don't have one in the computer anymore. I haven't for the last 2 computers. So.
Well, you mentioned the ice cream socials that you
Yes.
do, and you get your book,
Yes.
Dogs versus Ice Cream,
Yes.
which I just loved when you showed me the proofs. You showed me the galley, or did you?
That was the PDF
okay.
proof of the book,
Oh my
of the
God.
entire book.
So you actually got a physical copy here, or is that just
No,
the cover?
this is the cover that I brought along. I did an event not so long ago. This is actually bigger than what it is, but it is the cover. So.
Well, people can't see it right now, but when they go to hopefully the site, they'll have a chance to.
Oh yeah.
To see it. So tell us how this all came about.
Oh.
She's showing me one of the pictures of looks like a little Chihuahua mongrel mix eating the top of the cone.
Little terrier mix.
Mix. Oh.
Just his head is bent in bliss. I mean, the eyes are closed. It's like, wouldn't you say that is if you were looking at a portrait of bliss?
Yeah.
Would that speak to you? What do you see in this one?
This is what kind of dog is that?
It is a Dachshund Chihuahua mix.
He reminds me of that Gizmo from the Gremlin movies with the ears sticking out.
Yeah.
With these big wide eyes as it's licking its mouth covered in ice cream.
Ears too.
Oh yeah, the ears, and just it's in shock and in heaven at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Amazing. But yeah, how did you get started in making these images in the first place?
So
there was a video, right? There was a video that you saw.
Yes.
Okay.
It was Cooper and Daisy. It was this video with these. Daisy is a beagle and Cooper is a hound. And they're in the front seat of the car with their mom who's filming this. And she has an ice cream. She goes, oh, we went to McDonald's and got an ice cream today. And let's give Daisy some first. And so Daisy's slowly licking it. So then she says, and why do we let Daisy eat first? And then she's trying to keep Cooper away. She's like, why do we let Daisy eat first? And she brings the ice cream to Cooper because Cooper eats it too fast and just takes
swallows it whole. I love that video.
Yeah, it's great. It's so funny. So when I saw that, I thought, oh, there must be really cool professional pictures of dogs eating ice cream. And I looked, and there weren't. I mean, there weren't. There was a lot of ones with dogs being fed ice cream by their owners, and some of them at the little socials that the pet stores will put out, but they were all in cups and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I want to make a pretty one. So I actually called an ice cream truck. I said, hey, I would like to do this, ice cream socials for dogs. And he said, well, you can't use real ice cream. And I had no idea. And so I said, no. And he goes, no, they'll make him sick. So I researched that some more and found out, there's all kinds of dog ice cream. So I started out with Frosty Paws, which you can get in any grocery store. And I had a little evening where I set up all my lights and everything and invited some neighbor dogs over just so I could see if I could make them. And so it turned out really well. And then I had another one, and it turned out really well. It was funny. I mean, it's also just fun. It's just really fun. I would scoop the ice cream out of the cups and I would put it on a cone so it looked cool. It looked like real ice cream. Then, I brought the idea to a dog boutique and they said, yeah, let's set something up. You know what? It was so much fun that even the first time, because people were calling their friends to come over. Hey, come over to here. They're having an ice cream social. Bring your dog. And they were socializing throughout the store. It was really,
oh wow,
it was really fun. And we had a lot of clients that day, so that we did it the next year, and it sold out for 2 days. And then I did it was free to the people. I mean, I got a little money. It was I got $150, but we did 45 dogs in a 2-hour event. It was a lot.
Oh my God.
It was a lot. It was a lot. I mean, we were just rapid firing. I wasn't the full customer service, but the pictures turned out really great. I mean, super great. And I met, so that's how the socials began. And people they would sell out all the time. So then I went to this business conference, and I was sitting behind this man who I do composite photography of pets too, and he was really interested in that. And he says, I'd like to introduce you to my publisher. Well, long story short, he did, and the publisher actually wanted ice cream photos. And I said, well, great. And that was, it's Familius is the name of the publisher. We signed the contract, I think in the beginning of July, and then I started panicking because they wanted 100 dogs. And I'm like, 100 dogs?
And how many had you
dogs.
had so far that you could use in the book that you thought?
I thought I shouldn't use any for the book because they were on different backgrounds. And then I wanted everything, and they had different ice cream colors, and I wanted everything consistent.
Okay.
So I wanted everything on more kind of popsicle-y type of backgrounds, rather. Some of the other ones were not that at all. And so I had 7 ice cream socials throughout the city in Echo Park, Chatsworth, Huntington Beach, Beverly Hills, everywhere. And we had 7 of them, and they in Studio City. We sold out of all of them, and we had to add hours on, but we did it at really low price because I needed tails in the seats more than I needed, money.
Tails in the seat.
And I needed the tails. So we did it for $29. They got an 8x10 and a digital file, the ice cream, and the chance to be in the book. So we photographed 192.
192 and 100 are in the book.
And a little over 100 are in the book because some of the pictures have 2 from the same family, 2 dogs from the same family. There's a few of those. And then they said 100, and I just oh my God, I can't leave this dog. Oh my God, I can't leave this dog out. And I had to leave dogs not in, and it broke my heart. But I also got some really great looking dogs.
So explain the setup and what was the most challenging part about getting a good picture of a dog eating ice cream?
The setup was really easy. I bought a really cheap ottoman, and I used seamless in the background, and I think I only used 2 lights for this. I used a beauty dish. I used Einstein lights. I used Pro Photo out in the off camera outside. But when I want to shoot something really fast, those Einsteins, you can't beat them. They really are fast lights. So fast and accurate. So I used the Einstein. I think I used 2 of them on each one. I used a beauty dish, and then I would use an Octabank. So that's how we did the lighting on it. And then getting them is really just fast. These shoots last 5 minutes or less. And it's you just rapid fire. And if you try and shoot it while the tongue is out, by the time you get that image, the tongue won't be out.
But you're not using it in motor drive mode. You're just shooting pretty rapidly.
Yes, very rapidly. If you do motor drive, you're going to miss too many because the lights haven't recharged. So you do it just really, really fast. A lot of pictures. Each dog had 200 or 300 pictures. So, yeah, they had a lot.
Scoops of ice cream.
No, it's 1, but
there's 1.
Well,
Not
some
those
of
gulpers?
some of the gulpers. I've had a few dogs that had 3 ice cream cones before I could even get 1 picture, and it was so funny. One of them just okay, I enjoyed that, and then threw it all up on the seamless. It was kind of funny. It actually was very funny. It's I can't take it anymore. But some of them ate them really fast. My neighbor dog just. You can see the entire scoop of ice cream just in his mouth. It's pretty funny. But you know what? Just as funny are the dogs that hate the ice cream.
Oh, why?
Because they have such human expressions. That's one thing I think that you see in this book is kind of the humanity of these canines. They're very, you can see emotions. You and I were talking earlier about the emotions, grief and that kind of thing. Well, they have really, I think they really have corresponding human emotions. There's one picture, there's just this huge smile of anticipation. One of them is just deadlocked onto that ice cream cone, waiting to get it. It's the anticipation of it. And the ones that hate it are really funny because they will just turn their heads away, and they just one of them looks so incredibly sad. She's she looks sad that is being. They go, oh, we thought she would love it. She loves ice cream at home. I go, well, she probably gets people ice cream at home. Here she's getting dog ice cream, and there's no sugar, and there's no, it's good for dogs' digestive system, and the look on her face is so we have a lot of dogs that don't like ice cream featured in the book. I would say 85% of the dogs love the ice cream, and about 15%.
Oh, that's interesting.
Really hate it.
So tell me about designing and laying out the book. Was that something that you were completely responsible for? Did you work with an editor at the publishing company?
The art director put that together. So I didn't have any, some dogs have their own double truck spread.
Oh, okay.
And then some of them, are they're just squares in the book. I didn't have anything to do with that. I just supplied them, and, they never came back and said, do something else, do this or that. They just put it together from there. So,
and you were pleased with the result? Or?
Yeah, I was. I was very pleased with the result. I think it's a colorful, fun book. It is published by Familius, which is a family publisher. It's not so much a family book. I think it's a book for anybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's just really fun. Yeah, I'm pleased with how it turned out, and it's. I don't think they even picked the best dogs for the cover, which is funny. But so when you get into the book, you'll see some really.
Yeah, they're all very cute dogs, but none of them seem like they're like the bigger dogs.
We had Huskies, we had German Shepherds, we had all kinds of dogs. Bedlington Terriers. Those are slightly bigger dogs, not huge. Mm-hmm. We had a standard poodle. I don't think the standard didn't make the book, but we had all sizes. All sizes. We just raised up the lights depending on, who was sitting on that ottoman. So
you talked about your composites, and I want to talk to you about the Noir one.
Oh, yeah, my dog Noir.
Yeah, that's really cool. Tell us about that.
Okay. Well, after the ice cream book, I was looking for a new project, and I was at a business retreat, ironically the same one where I met the guy who introduced me to his publisher. So I was brainstorming with this person, and she was just rapid fire saying some things, and she said film noir, and I was just like stopped in my tracks. Like, that's it. That is a brilliant concept. So that was in September, and I started shooting them, I think, in November. November being a very busy holiday kind of month, so it was a busy time for me. And so I started sneaking in some in November. So what they are is they're very cinematic. They're actually shot in a 16:9 aspect ratio because I want it to look like film. I didn't realize later that a lot of those movies are in they're in not a 4:3. They're in they're in that old fashioned aspect, like the 8:10. They're in that kind of like more truncated kind of things. But I kept them in the film ratio, 16:9. We go to places. There's a lot, LA's changed a lot, so you're not going to find some things that are dead on, but there's some that are just gorgeous places. One place that was beautiful, we went to the Glendale railway station.
Beautiful spot.
Beautiful. And that was actually used in a movie. So I had this woman in a beret and a trench coat, and she's holding her Yorkie. So the idea is that they look like they've been pulled straight out of the movie, straight out of a film noir movie, but they're always with an animal, and that hasn't been done before. You've seen film noir actors with their dogs in a publicity still, but you don't see the dogs. You don't see the dogs in the movies. You don't see that anywhere. So that's what I set about to create. And the people who have been doing these are just so into them. Like they will. Yeah. I bought all this hats. I have these hats. I have fedoras. I have beautiful 1940s ties. I have all this stuff. But these people are coming there dressed on their own. I think it's wonderful that, it's kind of like the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So they are just, doing it up with their wardrobe. And some of them I provided wardrobe, and I have a lot of nice wardrobe items for people. But we've done, the Glendale was great. We did one at the Paris Orange Empire Railway Museum.
Oh, yeah.
That was fantastic. I was trying to get somebody from LA. It's a long way away. It's 90 miles. And I was trying to get somebody from LA to come out with me with their dog. And the day we were going to do it, we found out it was going to be a 3-hour drive instead of an hour and a half drive. And it was like, by the time we get there, it'll be closed. I reluctantly told the administrative assistant at the railway station, railway museum, we can't make it out there. I said, but do you know anybody who has a dog that, I can just do it out there instead of having to, have somebody commit to that amount of time? And she goes, I'll do it, and my fiance will do it. And so they had 2 dogs. We ended up shooting them, and it was like fantastic. There's a photo of him pointing a gun, hanging out of a train that says Los Angeles on it, and then he has a Doberman pinscher, looking in the same direction. And then hers is one of the most gorgeous photos that I've done for this series. She's sitting in a trolley car, the old-fashioned hat on, a fur coat on, and she's sitting with her German Shepherd, and they're both looking in the same direction, and she has this look of fear on her face, and it's just wonderful.
Oh, that's great.
That is one of my favorites. I had this couple. I've photographed them, ironically, 2 other times. One time they hired me for a full session for their puppy, and then they came to one of my ice cream socials. So I called them up and I said, hey, I would really, would you be at all interested in doing this? And man, they got down with it. And they said that they wanted to go to Chinatown. So that's where we went. And of course, we almost got kicked out, but they're a little strict. But we ended up getting a fantastic image of them with they have a miniature schnauzer, and they're like running through Chinatown, and you can see all of the
lanterns?
The lanterns. Yeah. It was right around, I think they're out there all the time, but it was right around the Chinese New Year. It was right after the Chinese New Year. And so they had all these lanterns around, and it just looked and they're running, and you could see the danger on their faces. It was cool.
It seems like you keep yourself having fun with all this stuff.
I have a huge list that I want to go to. I have my wardrobe collection, and I have... I know what I want to get out of it now, so I'm just having fun. I hope to make this one into a book, a coffee table book or something. Because it isn't the thing that you would actually buy a book or a portrait of someone else and their dog. Mm-hmm. That often is not the case. People will not buy.
Yeah, but as a series like that, it makes a lot of sense. As a series,
yeah, because they're all different locations. We're really featuring Los Angeles.
Yeah, there are a lot of ins. With that idea.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm loving how it's turning out. Yeah.
Well, my last question that I ask each guest is I ask them to recommend another photographer for our listeners to discover and explore, and it can be anyone, someone you've long admired or someone you've recently discovered. So who would that one photographer be and why?
Oh, that is so interesting. Can it be national or international?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You know who I recommend? Grace Chon. She is such a good animal photographer. She used to be a pet photographer at the consumer level, and now she's gone into animal photography commercially. And I remember looking at Grace's website when I was still working before I had been laid off, and I go, oh my God, I love what she does. It's such a natural way of dogs. I can still look at her stuff and go, oh God, I wish mine would measure up. But her photography is so clean. She used to be an art director. She is in Los Angeles. She's fantastic. And she has a podcast on genius and creativity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check
that out. So, yeah. I think it's creativity, not genius, creativity. But, us creatives are...
We think we're geniuses.
Yeah. Okay, we think we are. I know we are. And she is fantastic. She is really good. We've had a few email exchanges, and I was doing a project at Annenberg Pet Space, and she was doing one for the Annenberg Photography, but she was doing the lecture at the Annenberg Pet Space because it was pet photography related. And I went up to her and I just fangirled all over her. Oh. Yeah, it was sad. And she goes, but she goes, you're the one who does the ice cream. So she knew, she actually knew me. That's so cool. That was cool, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But I fangirl all over Grace Chon. Yeah,
that's cool.
She's fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Oh my God, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much. It was just babbling, but
Good babbling.
That's who I am.
Thanks to Diana for sharing her time and story with us. You can find out more about her and her work by visiting dianalundin.com. And her new book, Dogs vs. Ice Cream, is available for pre-order now, and you'll find a link for it in the show notes and our website. To be the voice that introduces the episode like Robert Coffey did this week, just send us an audio file recorded on your phone, tablet, or computer, saying something like, "This is Randy Hall from Las Vegas, Nevada, and this is The Candid Frame." Say it at least a couple of times so we have a take to choose from, and also include 3 to 4 seconds of silence with your voice to help us clean up the audio. Also, make sure to include a link to your website, blog, or Instagram feed when you send it to info@thecandidframe.com. I also have a variety of workshops I'm leading in the coming months, including one in 2 weeks in Washington, D.C. at the Focus on the Story Photo Festival, a 2-day workshop in June at the Los Angeles Center of Photography, and a week-long cultural experience in Tokyo, Japan in December. We have also added a workshop in Vancouver, Canada in August, which I'll be teaching alongside one of my favorite photographers, Olaf. Sign up soon, as spaces are limited. And if you want to get a sense of my teaching style and approach to photography, you should check out my YouTube channel, where I offer critiques and evaluations of photography submitted by TCF listeners who contribute to the Candid Frame Flickr pool. You can check out the TCF Flickr pool and our YouTube channel by clicking on the link in the show notes and the website. As mentioned earlier, my book, Making Photographs, Developing a Personal Visual Workflow, is now available. You can purchase it today and receive 40% off the list price when you order it from the Rocky Nook website. Use the promo code Perello40 at checkout to take advantage of the discount. And if you want to keep up with all things Candid Frame, sign up for our mailing list, and you'll receive 3 free copies of my previously published ebooks. And if you like what you've been hearing on the show, please take the time today to write a review in the iTunes Store, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you write a review on a blog post, let me know that as well, and send me a link, because I would like to thank you on air. Thanks to Michael67 for his 5-star review. You can also support the show by making a monthly contribution through Patreon, or you can make a one-time contribution via PayPal. You'll find links for both in the show notes and the website. Thanks to Grandpa Skip and J.P. Miskowski for their recent contributions. And if you want to easily access every episode of The Candid Frame, download the Candid Frame app. It's available for both Apple iOS and Android, and it's free. Download it today, and you'll find it where everything else is in the show notes or the website at thecandidframe.com. We also have an Alexa app, so if you have one of those smart devices, download the skill and listen to the show that way. The Candid Frame's audio engineer is Martin Taylor, who you can find at theothermartintaylor.com. The show's senior producer is Cynthia Parker, and our music is from Kevin MacLeod, whose royalty-free music can be found at incompetech.com. And this is Ibarionex, and this is The Candid Frame.